When you get to be old, the most important issues are your health and your independence. And the key to independence, other than being healthy, is having enough money to be where you want to be, to get the help that you need. So older people inextricably mix up health, independence, and financial security because they are all part of the same issue for them.
The subject of this podcast is the business side of caregiving. But much of the information in this series may apply more to you than your parents. That's because the two biggest worries that elders have are these: will I outlive my money? And how will I pay for long-term care if I need it? Unfortunately, the answer to both depends on planning while you are still young and able to earn and save. Because unless your parent has already done solid planning for their later years, many of the options they could have had will be unavailable due to their age or health status. So, as you listen, think about yourself and the need to protect your own family from the potential of financial catastrophe. You can do that by choosing to make a decision to act now before you get too much older or your health begins to decline due to the natural aging process. The longer you wait or put off making important financial planning choices, the more likely it will be that your options will dwindle, putting your family in jeopardy. Now, discussions about finances have two sides: financial planning for life and financial planning for death.
If you're concerned about your parents' financial situation and what type of planning that they have done, I think the best thing to do is just to ask them. Say, Mom or Dad, do you have long-term care insurance? Do you have trouble managing your finances? Is there any way I can be helpful to you? In many cases, they'll say, no, everything is fine, and my suggestion is to back off. On the other hand, I think you'll find many situations when Dad has died, and all of a sudden Mom is overwhelmed by financial issues. And typically, for many of our parents, it was Dad who handled all of these issues. Mom never may have even balanced a checkbook or used it in some cases. The other key event which also occurs is a major illness or a stroke or going to the hospital or going to a nursing home, and that's also a time when many people lose the ability to manage their daily money tasks.
The adult child needs to understand that they're dealing in some very delicate areas here. There's a role reversal that's taking place. And I think always in this circumstance, directness, candor is extremely important, because if there's any hint of a hidden agenda, parents are going to pick up on that, and it could set the whole discussion back dramatically. You've got to be right up front. You got to be open-handed with your parents in these things, because you have to remember, for all of your lifetime relationship, your parent has looked out for you. I remember my mom saying to me one time, no matter how old you are, you're always going to be my son. And I'm always going to have that responsibility for it. Well, now this role's reversing.
If your parent accepts your help, the first step is to find out everything about their current financial status, their income, and their expenses. You need to know about all of your parents' financial resources and the current value of each. You also need to know what their liabilities are. Look at the financial worth and real value of any insurance policies they have. It's also important to know where everything is. For instance, which bank has which account? Does your parent have a safe deposit box? Where is the box, and where is the key? Susie found out just how important the answers to these questions were when her mother had a medical crisis.
There was definitely a lack of information about financial setup. I felt fairly comfortable that there was going to be enough to handle what needed to be done, but really uncertain of where it was coming from or anything else. The truth of the matter is that for the month my mother was in the hospital, my sisters stayed at her house, and we were just going through, this is awful, we were going through the mail, going through the bills, going through the checks, going through, digging around, trying to find out what was going on. We knew she had a real comfortable income. We knew she'd been very meticulous about investing and all that, but where it was and how much it was. And I mean, we knew that she was able to certainly to afford her house and to travel when she wanted to, and she was usually generous with us with gifts and so on. So we, there's a fair amount here, but we didn't know where it was. I think that we've just figured it out after a year. And fortunately, she's also started to be able to give us a hand with a little bit of information. But in the beginning, that first month, it really was just watching the mail come in.
If your parent cannot answer all your questions, or you are having trouble finding all the information you need, their financial planner, tax preparer, banker, close relative, or friend may be able to help you. Certified financial planner Ron Cavell says,
we can plan in advance, or we can deal with the problem after it takes place. And typically, if we wait till it becomes a problem, it takes much more time. It's much more costly. The options and the alternatives are much fewer. So it makes a lot of sense that if you're an adult parent, if you're an adult child, you have parents that you're concerned about, now's the time to be involved with them.
Elder law attorney Mike Murphy says that as you work with your parent to uncover their financial picture, be very careful about how you go about it.
Even if the parent has agreed that the best course of action would be to go into a nursing home or something, they are always holding out the ray of hope that they can return home someday and that everything will be as it was before. In a situation like that, you have to be very careful in doing the financial planning, because if you go too far, too fast, you may completely devastate the parent that you're trying to do so much for. For example, if you were to sell the house, because that would be a great Medicaid planning technique, not that it is, but if that's what you think, and the parent was intending to return home after this little bout in the nursing home ended, you may be seriously emotionally causing problems to that adult parent by your actions. Or if you transfer assets away from your parents and now they no longer have their independence, that also may be a problem.
As you go about the financial planning process with your parents, remember that you are planning not just for their future, but your future and your family's future. As a responsible caregiver, you're creating financial strategies for the long haul, considering ways to pay for your parents' long-term care and your long-term care. You are devising ways to protect your estates, and you're doing tax planning. Charles Atwell is a certified financial planner who understands the playing field. He says,
tax planning involves knowledge of the tax laws. The tax laws of the United States today take from the ill-informed and give to the well-informed. So if you want to be among the well-informed, you've got to understand the laws. It's like playing a game. You play a game, you've got to know the rules. And so tax planning is a continuous thing. It starts January 1 because it goes for the whole year. Because if you call your tax planner after December 31st, you're not calling a tax planner, you're calling an historian.
tax planning is linked to estate planning, particularly later in life. Your parents' estate is made up of all of their assets, whether it's thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. That's the estate. So to protect it, you need a plan. Charles Atwell again.
When you walk out, your estate takes over. Your estate takes over your assets. If you don't have a will, the state that you live in will determine how your property is going to be divided.
This program was produced by AgingParents.com, which is solely responsible for its contents.